Hi everyone and welcome along. So today is a big day. It is both my birthday and the channel's 4th birthday. It's absolutely incredible to think we've been doing this for 4 years, and we just want to say a massive thank you to you for continuing to support us and enjoying the tutorials, and it makes our day every time we see one of your paintings pop up online. So thanks, and here's to many more years to come. So today we thought, what else to paint other than a birthday cake done in a really cool vintage piped style. It's the kind of cake that everybody dreams coming out like a massive one, maybe a person popping out of it at the same time. So grab your paints and let's get started. Okay, so I will be honest with you, I'm feeling like this is going to be something that I'm going to work out as I go along. I love these kinds of birthday cakes so much, and I really want to get this right. And hey, there's no pressure, it's only the birthday episode. So what I've done is I've got 2 vertical lines, 3 inches apart, and what have I done? I've gone for about just over 2 inches tall, and I'm going to draw a curve for the bottom of the cake. Then I'm going to try and mirror that. But maybe not quite, it doesn't need to be quite as rounded, because of course we're seeing the cake from higher up, if that makes sense. And then matching it on top as well. Oh, not bad. Curves are tricky things, but I think we've done all right. Now, I think what would be sensible is a little bit of planning, a little bit of forward planning. So I am going to mark in some points at which I think my cakes are going to have decoration and things. So I think I'm going to have like a frilly top, and then we'll have some sort of, I'm going to do rough shapes that then I can paint in afterwards. So a sort of teardrop shape, I suppose, a sort of seashell type thing. Isn't it amazing how fashions with all things come and go and ebb and flow? Because these cakes were big in the 80s, weren't they? Big sort of flouncy wedding cakes. And now they are the height of fashion, height of sophistication in the UK anyway. There's a cake baker who I follow called Lily Vanilli, who I think is super cool. And she was one of the first that I noticed anyway to revive this very sort of maximalist trend. And I'm so glad she did. So we'll have extra sort of flouncy frills and things there. And then maybe we'll have, so it's basically vertical lines, isn't it, going down your cake? Sort of rough vertical lines. We'll have a sort of upside down teardrop. And another curve. It's all about these swags, like big old rich fancy curtains, aren't they? And then piping around the bottom. And then on the top we'll have sort of fancy piping and things, but I think it would be fun to have some sort of blobs of icing with something fun on the top. So I think that is enough drawing. Just get my kneadable eraser. It's always useful to just knock back the pencil lines. Makes your life a lot easier later on when you want to start rubbing out the pencil. Now, in terms of colours, I think what I'd like to do is use a nice sort of fresh, fun, pastel-y kind of palette. And I'm going to start with a nice sort of blush colour. So the buff titanium is there as a nice creamy base, and then I've got permanent rose and yellow ochre, which is going to be it's a really sort of chintzy, old-fashioned kind of blush pink. And I'm just going to see what happens. I'm just going to have a go. I think to begin with, I'm going to start off with some flounces and frills. So I'll start by just placing in some quite pale pink lines here. And now I'm going to sort of attempt to create a sort of frilly finish. So I'm doing that by, let's do one from the middle so you can see what I'm talking about. Little sort of soft, slightly triangular shapes that are making curly frills. Like I said, I'm sort of working this out as I go along. I know I'll be adding more colours as we go. And then I'm going to make another colour, a bit of permanent rose, bit of alizarin crimson, and it looks like one of Crumble's dog hairs. And I'm going to use that to create an extra sort of low light colour. I'm going to paint in another one underneath here. So I think what I'm learning is, at this point, it's just a case of being quite sort of sparing with the colour, and then you can build up layers and create more of the detail. So this second layer is sort of swagging a little bit, like the curve underneath it. So I let the layer dry above it before I put this layer in, so I can put in these pink tones and let them sort of show up. Okay, let's try a new piping technique. We're going to try the classic sort of scallop shell shape. So lots of curves and little bits of unpainted space. It feels easiest to start from the centre because that one is the most visible, and then the others can follow from either side. And then while they're still a little bit damp, Just drop in a little bit of pink like that. So I've added in a few more sort of bands, and now what I'm doing is I'm just doing a wiggly line along the bottom that gets a little bit sort of tighter as it gets to the side. And I'm just colouring in. Oh, I can't believe I just said that. I'm always like, you're not colouring in with watercolour. But this little bit I am just filling in this section on the top with the pale pink. And then just dropping in a little bit of colour. Essentially, we're just sort of building up to the point where we've got every sort of bit of pink filled in. And then we will start to get a bit more detail and things on there. So our teardrops and our scallop shells are a bit like the piping shape we did. So we're going to use unpainted space where we can. So start with a middle line. Use that stronger pink to just shape it how you wish. Okay, now I'm doing the swirls of icing on the top. So I start with a sort of sort of sliding, twisting curve with my pale pink, and then I'll just carefully try and paint in the rest of the blob. And then a little bit of pink, and we'll just paint all those in like that. So I'm pleased with how this is coming together. It's funny because I feel like it's a bit messy at this point, but I know that it's just because we're still at the basic wash stage. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just place in a little bit of buff titanium just around the edges, just to give the base of the cake a little bit of something. And that is going to help when it comes to rubbing out the pencil lines. And I'm going to put a bit in there, but I just popped in a little bit of extra piping, so I'm letting that dry. Whilst I wait for that to dry, the last little bit of this sort of basic wash stage is to place in some pink in the underside of my piping. So this is the stronger pink here. And then once I've done that, we'll let the whole thing dry. I'm actually going to rub out the pencil then, even though we're not done yet, because this is the point at which we've got everything coloured in, and now it's just time to have some fun with some stronger colours, some shadow, and some sort of finishing touches. So you can see how that starts to make it look like a bit of a 3D effect. Right, it's time for some fun. It's detail time. So I am going to just wake up some pure permanent rose there. I've rubbed the pencil out, and you can see it's all come away really beautifully. So for those, I get asked so much about how can you rub the pencil out when you've already painted over it? Well, if you've drawn lightly to start off with, and then you rub it out at a stage where you can before you've finished, then you're absolutely fine. Okay, so 4/10 brush. I'm now going to be looking for places where a little bit of sort of light and shade with my icing can just really help give it some lovely detail and 3D effect. And we're just doing it all with the same colours that we used. It's not so much a case of outlining as such, but it's just more about highlighting and low lighting various bits. So for example, with these sort of frills off the edge, I think I'll sort of focus on maybe the underside. And say in the middle here where we haven't got a huge amount of detail, we'll just sort of create some light and shade. And then of course you've got the frills underneath, so they'll definitely have a bit more darkness there where they're protruding out. But I'm sort of feeling it as I go. I'm trying to imagine how the light would fall on some of these shapes. And of course then we've also got other details we can put in, like extra little piping dots and blobs and little lines. I've sort of done that, but that's sort of, maybe it was a sort of asymmetric design. Well, anyway, so yeah, just have some fun with it. And honestly, this is like my favourite part, and there may be some irregular wobbly bits, but that's what makes it a lovely hand painted piece and not some clever graphic design. And also the whole point of these tutorials is to enjoy the process, and especially something like this, it may well be a card that you're going to give to somebody. All that person cares about is the time you've taken to create something for them with lots of love. So don't beat yourself up about things being perfect, okay? We don't need perfect, but we do want thought and love, especially on birthdays. So this is shaping up to be really nice, and I thought I'd just get you in for this bit here because it's just a little bit fiddly. So I'm just using the more solid permanent rose, more concentrated one, to define the curls and the curves. So I'm just thinking about the centre of the cake, so the sort of central swirl will be coming out from there. And it's amazing how much you can get from a single colour doing all this, all these low lights. Sometimes it's nice to just come in and smooth it with a wet brush. So yeah, we're very nearly there. To finish off, I've decided I want to put cherries on the top there. So we need some alizarin crimson and also some cadmium red. I wanted to call it cherry red then. So I'll start off with the red, and I'll place one on here. So I'm using my size 0 brush. Now I want it to sort of be sat in on the blob of icing. Clean my brush off. And place that on, and then I'm going to get some alizarin crimson. And just shape it like that, and then a little bit extra at the top. So that's what we're going to do for all of our cherries, and even these ones on the front, which are sort of in front of piping swirls, we're using such strong colours that even with a bit of unpainted space, a little bit of shine on them, they're still going to show up really nicely. So this is looking rather lovely, and the final touches are just a little bit of low light. So I've added some Payne's Grey to my alizarin crimson, and just getting rid of a bit of fluff on my brush. And I want to just add it in there. There we go. Just a little bit there, and then just with a few minimal brush strokes. I haven't got any on the back there, that's okay. Just helping it in there, and that's really lovely. I'm really thrilled with it, and I'm going to take a very dilute amount of Payne's Grey and size 2 brush. Maybe my size 0. The size 0 has been the hero brush of this piece. What I want to do is just place in a very small amount of shadow. Oh, I haven't done any more dots. Oh, I need to do that. It's funny what you forget that you've done or not done. But yeah, so I'm just adding a minimal amount of this Payne's Grey shadow, but it really does make a difference. And there is the finished cake. So a very happy birthday to us, to the Winton Paper Go, and to me. And yeah, wherever you are, I hope you can get your hands on a cake like this, because I want to stick my face in it. But there you go. Thanks so much for watching. So grateful as ever. You've really changed our lives. This last 4 years has been a whole new experience for me and Ant, and opened up amazing opportunities for us both. But it never ever beats the excitement of connection with our global audience, the comments we get from you, the paintings we see. Nothing will ever beat that. So thank you, and see you for the quick fix tomorrow. Bye.